Thanksgiving Square is an institution here in Dallas. People think that it's just a little park in the center of downtown Dallas, but it's infinitely more than that. There is a building in the park that has a very lovely little chapel in it, and that's used for weddings and different events. The building was designed by the famous architect Philip Johnson, and then there's an interesting meeting room downstairs. And when I was involved with the ADL, I had the idea of putting on an interfaith program because I said that Christians and Jews, and this was just Christian Jewish at that time, the words that mean one thing to us mean something else, like Messiah, for instance, and redemption, and salvation. And so we had a meeting, and someone invited Elizabeth Esperson, who at that time was the executive director of Thanksgiving Square in downtown Dallas. I didn't know anything about the square at that time, but Elizabeth was a wonderful, very interesting, and very able. Did you know her? Able lady. She was a former Roman Catholic nun. I never asked her why she stopped being a nun. I figured if she wanted me to know, she'd tell me. But I never knew. But anyway, she was a really great gal. And we got involved with them. And then after I met Elizabeth, and after a while she called me and said that she was setting up sort of an interfaith group, and she called it the Chapel Committee at that time. And I think it was because the founder, Peter Stewart, was not too enthusiastic about this interfaith council idea. But she got together a group, and I was part of it, and then Mark Herbener, who at that time was a Lutheran minister, today he's a retired bishop, and then Bishop Charles Grauman from the Roman Catholic Diocese was involved, and several, Israel Kalora, the Roman Catholic layperson, and we met periodically, and we talked about our own religions, and it was very interesting. I always felt that there's tremendous ignorance in the Gentile community about Jews and Judaism, and I love to talk about the Jewish religion. When Levi Olin was rabbi here, when Emmanuel got a request for someone to go to talk about Judaism, very often he'd send me, and I loved doing it. And so I was happy to join. So somehow I met Elizabeth, and she called me one day and said that she's setting up this group and would I like to join. Oh, I'd love to. It's just the kind of thing I love to do. So I've been a member of this for many, many years, and now it has grown. We have people of every faith. We have Jews, Christians of many denominations, Muslim, Hindu, Sikh, Baha'i, and we got together. They put on events. We haven't done many. I have been very much less active, but I'm feeling better physically now, and I think I'm going to start going again. I haven't gone. I want to suggest that they need to do more programs. I think the last big program we had, I suggested it. We used to do, I think the first one we did, Mark Herbener suggested, it was on Dietrich Bonhoeffer, the German minister, who was hung by Adolf Hitler. And then after that, that was such a big success that they said, oh, we ought to continue doing these meetings. So I immediately said, let's do one on Abraham Joshua Heschel. Rabbi Heschel has always been, my hero. I think that his books are wonderful, the way that he wrote about God and the Jewish concept of man's relationship to God. And so I said, well, let's do a program on Abraham Joshua Heschel. And then Joe Tyson, who's now a retired professor of religion at SMU, was there. And Joe said, well, we can only do one on Heschel if we invite his daughter, Susanna Heschel, to come down and speak. And at that time, I think Susanna was teaching at some college up in the Midwest. Well, she wanted an honorarium. I had to raise the money for her honorarium, which I did. And so she came down and she gave a very good talk about her father was a fascinating, fascinating man. I have several of his books. So then that was a big success. And so then they decided they will go on and do more programs. We have done a program on like Pope John the 23rd, Albert Outler, Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi. The last one we did, I suggested, it was on Reinhold Niebuhr, who was the great Christian theologian of the early 30s, who was, he had been very much influenced by Judaism in his younger years, and he and Heschel were friends. And so we haven't done any lately, but I want to suggest that we have never done one on a Muslim. And I read lately that there was a Muslim novelist who won a Pulitzer Prize. His name was Naguib Mahfouz. And I don't know much about him, but we have a very interesting Muslim member of the Interfaith Council. I want to suggest to him, see what he thinks of it. I think that we're going to do one on a Muslim, and that may be the next thing we do. Ojalá, I hope so.
Thank you.
Ojalá is a Spanish word. There's no parallel in English. It just means I hope so. And it just comes out without thinking every once in a while. Ojalá, I hope so.
Thank you.
It's a neat word.